I didn't plan to talk to her. That's important to understand from the start. I was just watching. 28 years I'd lived not knowing who my father was. Mom always said it was complicated, that he didn't know about me, that it was better this way. When she died last year from breast cancer, I found a letter in her things. Just his name, Dr. Marcus Brennan, and the city where they'd met, Philadelphia. So I looked him up, because apparently I'm the kind of person who needs to know where half my DNA comes from, even if it doesn't change anything. Dr. Marcus Brennan, cardiothoracic surgeon, married to Rebecca for 26 years. 2 daughters, Emma, 22, and Sophie, 19. A golden retriever named Biscuit who had his own Instagram account. A beautiful house in the suburbs. A life that looked perfect from the outside. I know this makes me sound like a stalker, but I drove to Philadelphia 3 weeks ago, took a Friday off work, told my roommate I needed a mental health day. I sat outside his house in my car for 2 hours, feeling like a creep before I finally saw him leave for work. He looked normal, older than in the photos I'd found online, graying hair, tired eyes, human. I didn't knock on the door, didn't introduce myself, just sat there thinking about how this man had no idea I existed, how my whole life had been shaped by his absence, and he'd never lost a single night's sleep over a daughter he didn't know about. I should have driven home then, should have accepted that some questions don't need answers. Instead, I Googled his daughters. Emma Brennan was easy to find, active on social media, studying biology at UPenn, wanted to be a veterinarian. Her feed was full of photos with friends, with her dog, with her dad at his hospital's charity gala. She looked happy, lucky. I hated that I was jealous of my own half-sister. That's when I saw the recent posts. Ones about being tired all the time, about missing classes, about another hospital visit. The comments from friends were worried. Hope you feel better soon. Praying for you, Em. Miss you, girl, come back to campus. Something was wrong with her. I told myself it wasn't my business. I told myself a lot of things that week. But I kept checking her social media, kept seeing updates about doctors' visits and tests and feeling awful, and nobody knowing what was wrong. And maybe it was guilt about being jealous, or maybe it was curiosity, or maybe I'm just a terrible person who couldn't leave well enough alone. But I started researching. Her symptoms matched several genetic conditions, things that might need family medical history to diagnose, things that might need a genetic match for treatment. I have a science background. I'm a lab technician at a research hospital in Boston. I know how genetic testing works. I know how bone marrow registries work. I know what no match found can mean for someone who's sick. And I started to wonder if maybe I was the match they couldn't find. That's how I ended up back in Philadelphia 2 weeks later, sitting in a coffee shop near UPenn's campus at exactly 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, because Emma's Instagram showed she always stopped at this specific coffee shop on Tuesdays after her last class. Except according to her recent posts, she'd been too sick to go to classes. So this was stupid. I was sitting in a coffee shop waiting for someone who probably wouldn't show up. Planning. What exactly? What was I going to say? Hi, I'm your half-sister you've never met. Are you dying? I was gathering my stuff to leave when she walked in. I recognized her immediately from photos, but she looked worse in person. Pale, thin, moving slowly like everything hurt. She ordered tea and sat down 2 tables away from me, pulling out a laptop with shaking hands. My heart was pounding so hard I thought she'd hear it. Just leave, I told myself. This is creepy. This is wrong. Just go home. But then her phone rang. I heard her answer. Hi, Mom. I shouldn't have listened, but I couldn't help it. I'm okay, I promise. Just needed to get out of the house. No, I'm not overdoing it. I'm just sitting at Brood Awakening. Mom, the doctor said I need to stay active. I know. I'm being careful. A pause. Then, quieter. Did Dad's friend at Johns Hopkins get back to us? About testing his medical students? Another pause. Her voice got smaller. Oh, okay. No, it's fine. We'll find someone. We have to. She hung up, and I watched her put her head in her hands. I don't know what came over me. Temporary insanity, probably. But I stood up, walked to her table, and heard myself say, I'm sorry. I couldn't help overhearing. Are you looking for a bone marrow match? She looked up, startled. What? I. Yeah. How did you? I work at a research hospital. I'm familiar with the process. Smooth. Zoe. Very normal and not weird at all. I'm actually on the bone marrow registry. Have been for years. It's really important work. Why was I lying? I wasn't on the registry. But I could be. I should be. Emma's eyes filled with tears. That's really kind of you to register. I wish more people would. I have this thing, this genetic condition, and they can't find a match for me anywhere. My sister already tested and she's not compatible, and they're running out of options. What's the condition? If you don't mind me asking. She hesitated, then seemed to decide I was harmless. Or maybe she was just so tired of being sick that she didn't care anymore. It's called aplastic anemia. My bone marrow doesn't make enough blood cells. Without a transplant, I'm going to die. The way she said it, so matter of fact, so exhausted, broke something in me. I'm so sorry, I said, and I meant it. Whatever complicated feelings I had about her father, about her perfect family, none of that was her fault. She was just a sick kid who needed help. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but... She wiped her eyes. Sorry, I don't usually trauma dump on strangers in coffee shops. I asked, I said. And for what it's worth, you're handling it better than I would. She laughed weakly. You haven't seen me at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep because I'm terrified. We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me about her symptoms, about the failed treatments, about how they'd exhausted the registry trying to find a match, about how it needed to be someone genetically related, and her family was running out of options. My dad is an only child, she said. My mom has one sister, but she's not a match. My grandparents are too old to donate. It's just, we're a small family. Not a lot of genetic options. Not a lot of genetic options. Except there was one more option. One person they didn't know existed. Me. I left that coffee shop in a daze, drove back to Boston in complete silence, my mind racing. I could save her life. Probably. If I was a match. And given that we share a father and she has a genetic condition, the odds were decent. But to do that, I'd have to tell Dr. Marcus Brennan that I existed. That he had another daughter. That 29 years ago, he got my mother pregnant, and she never told him. I'd have to blow up his perfect family, his perfect life, and I'd have to do it while his daughter was dying. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I kept thinking about Emma's face in that coffee shop. How tired she looked. How scared. And I kept thinking about what my mom had written in that letter I found after she died. Marcus doesn't know. I made the choice not to tell him. Don't blame him for my decision. But what choice did I have now? I called my best friend, Maya, at midnight on the third night. I need to tell you something insane. Are you pregnant? Finally dating again? Did you quit your job? I found my biological father. He has a daughter who's dying, and I'm probably the genetic match that could save her life. Silence. Then, what the actual hell, Zoe? I told her everything. The letter. Dr. Brennan. Emma. The aplastic anemia. So let me get this straight, Maya said slowly. You've been stalking your dad's family. I wasn't stalking. You were definitely stalking. And now you're considering donating bone marrow to your secret half-sister. which would require telling your dad you exist, potentially destroying his marriage and definitely complicating everyone's life forever. When you say it like that, it sounds bad. Zoe, it is bad. It's also kind of beautiful, in a completely messed up way. She sighed. What are you going to do? I don't know. That's why I called you. Okay, practical question. Are you even a match? Because if you're not, all of this is hypothetical. She was right. I needed to know if I was even compatible before I made any decisions. The next day, I went to my hospital's donor center and got tested. Told them I had a family member who might need a transplant. They drew blood, sent it off for HLA typing, and said it would take about a week for results. That week was torture. I went to work. I came home. I obsessively Googled aplastic anemia and bone marrow transplants and success rates. I read stories about donors and recipients, about families finding matches against impossible odds. I also started digging into my mother's past, trying to understand why she never told Marcus about me. I found old photos, old letters from that time in her life. She'd been 23 when she got pregnant, fresh out of graduate school. Marcus had been a medical resident. They'd dated for 4 months. In a letter to her sister, my mom wrote, Marcus is going to be a surgeon. He has his whole life planned out. A baby would destroy everything he's worked for. I can't do that to him. And honestly, I don't know if I trust him to choose me over his career. Better to do this alone than find out I'm second place. She'd been scared, and maybe a little proud. She'd decided she didn't need him, that she could raise me herself. And she had. She'd been a good mom, a great mom. But now I had information she'd never had. I knew Marcus had gone on to have a happy marriage, 2 more daughters, a successful career. He'd built the life she'd thought a baby would destroy. Would he have made different choices if he'd known about me? Would he have wanted to be my father? I'd never know, because she never gave him the chance. The genetic testing results came back on day 6. I was at work when my phone rang. Ms. Martinez, this is Dr. Chen from the Donor Center. Your HLA typing results are in, and I wanted to discuss them with you. My hands were shaking. Am I a match? For your family member with aplastic anemia? Yes. You're a 10 out of 10 match. That's excellent news. I had to sit down. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? You're a perfect match. If you decide to proceed with donation, you'd be an ideal candidate. I thanked him, hung up, and immediately threw up in the bathroom. A 10 out of 10 match. Perfect. I could save Emma's life. All I had to do was destroy everything Marcus Brennan thought he knew about his family. That night, I did something probably stupid. I drove back to Philadelphia. Not to his house this time, to the hospital where he worked. I sat in the parking lot, watching doctors and nurses come and go, trying to imagine what I'd say if I walked into his office. Hi, I'm Zoe Martinez, and 28 years ago you got my mother pregnant. Surprise. Also, your daughter is dying and I can save her. You're welcome. Yeah, no. Around 8 p.m. I saw him, Dr. Marcus Brennan, walking to his car, still in his scrubs, looking exhausted. He stopped to talk to another doctor, laughed at something, clapped the guy on the shoulder. Looked like a nice man, a good man, a man who had no idea his life was about to change. I followed him home. Again, I know how this sounds, but I needed to see them together. The family I could potentially save or ruin. Through their kitchen window, I saw him greet his wife with a kiss. Saw Emma sitting at the table looking pale and tired. Saw Sophie show her dad something on her phone, both of them laughing. A golden retriever, Biscuit presumably, wandering around begging for scraps. It looked like a commercial for happy families, the kind of family I'd never had. And I was the ghost outside the window, the secret daughter, the complication, but I was also the solution to their biggest problem. My phone buzzed. A message from Maya. Have you decided? I stared at that perfect family through that window and thought about Emma telling me she couldn't sleep at 3 a.m. because she was terrified of dying. Thought about her mother desperately calling every doctor they knew, looking for a match. Thought about Marcus, who had no idea one of his daughters was a stranger who could save the other. I typed back, "Yeah, I'm telling them." Maya sent back a string of worried emojis. Then, when? I looked at Marcus through the window, watched him put his arm around Emma, kiss the top of her head. "Tomorrow," I typed. "I'm telling them tomorrow." Because every day I waited was another day Emma got sicker. Another day her family suffered. And whatever my issues were with Marcus not knowing about me, those were between me and my dead mother. They weren't Emma's fault. I just had to figure out how to walk up to a stranger and say, "Hi, Dad." I chickened out 3 times before I finally did it. First time, I drove to his hospital Tuesday morning, made it as far as the lobby, and turned around. Second time, Wednesday, I sat in my car outside his office building for an hour, then drove home. Third time, Thursday, I actually walked into the hospital, asked for Dr. Brennan at the desk, got as far as the elevator, and had a full panic attack. Friday morning, I woke up, looked at myself in the mirror, and said out loud, "Emma is dying. Stop being a coward." So I drove back to Philadelphia, walked into Pennsylvania Hospital, asked for Dr. Brennan. The receptionist called up, and 5 minutes later I was being escorted to his office. My heart was trying to escape my chest. The escort knocked on his door. "Dr. Brennan, your 11 o'clock is here." "I don't have an 11 o'clock, I heard him say. "She says it's urgent, personal matter." A pause. Then the door opened and Marcus Brennan was standing there, looking confused and slightly annoyed. "Can I help you?" This was it. The moment that would change everything. "My name is Zoe Martinez," I said. My voice sounded far away, like someone else was talking. "I think you knew my mother, Sarah Martinez, about 29 years ago." I watched his face change. Confusion to recognition to shock. "Sarah," he said quietly. "Yes, I knew Sarah. We dated when I was a resident." "How is she?" "She died. Last year. Breast cancer." "I'm so sorry." He looked genuinely sad. "She was a wonderful person." "She was," I agreed. Then, before I could lose my nerve, "She was also pregnant when you two broke up. With me. You're my biological father." I've never seen someone's face go through so many emotions so fast. Shock, disbelief, confusion, then slow, dawning horror. "That's not... She never... I didn't know." He sat down hard in his desk chair. "She never told me." "I know. That was her choice. She left a letter explaining why. She didn't want to derail your career. Thought it was better to raise me alone." He was staring at me like I might disappear if he blinked. "You're my daughter." "Biologically, yes." "Why are you telling me this now? Why, after all these years?" This was the hard part. "Because I met Emma at a coffee shop. She told me about her aplastic anemia, about how she needs a bone marrow transplant and can't find a match." I watched understanding dawn on his face. "I got tested," I continued. "I'm a 10 out of 10 match. I can save her life." Marcus put his head in his hands. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red. "You're here to offer to donate." "Yes." "Even though I didn't know you existed. Even though I've never been a father to you. Emma didn't do anything wrong. None of this is her fault. She's sick and I can help. That's all that matters." He was quiet for another minute. Then, "Does Emma know? About you?" "No. I didn't think it was my place to tell her. That's your decision to make." "My wife," he said slowly. "Rebecca. She doesn't know either." "Nobody knows I have another daughter. I understand this is complicated." Complicated. He laughed, a broken sound. That's one word for it. My daughter is dying, and the only person who can save her is a daughter I didn't know I had. How do I explain this to my family? I don't know, I said honestly. But Emma is running out of time. The donation needs to happen soon. So, you're going to have to figure it out. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time. You look like your mother. Around the eyes. People say that. I loved her, when we were together. I wanted to marry her. But she broke up with me out of nowhere. Said she was moving to Boston for work. That long distance wouldn't work. That we wanted different things. I didn't understand. Now I do. She thought she was protecting you. She was wrong. His voice broke. If I'd known, I don't know what I would have done. But I would have tried. I would have wanted to be your father. That hurt more than I expected. All those years wondering if he would have cared, and here was my answer. He would have. My mother had made the choice for both of us. Does that change anything? I asked. Knowing you would have wanted me? No. Yes. I don't know. He rubbed his face. I need to think. I need to tell Rebecca. We need to. He stopped. Can you donate without everyone knowing who you are? Is that possible? I'd researched this. Technically, yes. Anonymous donation is possible. But Emma's medical team would know we're related, and eventually, Emma would want to know who her donor is. Most recipients do. So the truth comes out eventually either way. Probably. He stood up, walked to his window, stared out at the city. I've spent 26 years building a life with Rebecca. 2 daughters who trust me. A career. A reputation. And now I have to tell them I've been lying without knowing I was lying. You weren't lying. You didn't know. Doesn't matter. They'll feel betrayed anyway. He turned back to me. But Emma is dying, and you're offering to save her. I don't have the luxury of time to process this gently. No, I agreed. You don't. I need to talk to Rebecca. Tonight. Then we need to meet with Emma's medical team. Arrange the donation. And then. He trailed off. Then we figure out how to be a family. All of us. Somehow. I'm not asking to be part of your family, I said quickly. I'm just offering to help Emma. After that, I can disappear if you want. Is that what you want? I didn't know how to answer that. Did I want a relationship with this man? With Emma? With the family that could have been mine? I don't know, I said honestly. Right now, I just want Emma to live. Everything else can wait. He nodded slowly. Okay. Give me your number. I'll call you after I talk to Rebecca. We'll set up a meeting with the transplant team. And Zoe? Yes? Thank you for coming here, for being willing to help. I know this must be incredibly difficult for you. Emma's the one who's dying, I said. My difficulties seem pretty minor in comparison. I left his office feeling like I'd just run a marathon. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely drive. He called that night at 10 p.m. Rebecca wants to meet you, he said. His voice sounded wrecked. Tomorrow, at our house. She's processing, but she wants to meet you before we tell the girls. Okay, I said. What time? 10 a.m. And Zoe. She's angry. At your mother. At the situation. Not at you. But it's going to be difficult. I understand. I hung up and stared at my phone. In less than 12 hours, I was going to meet the woman my father married instead of my mother. The woman whose family I was about to save and simultaneously destroy. This was going to be a disaster. Rebecca Brennan was nothing like I expected. I'd imagined someone cold, maybe angry, definitely hostile. Instead, she opened the door Saturday morning and immediately started crying. You look like him, she said, around the mouth. The way you stand. Marcus appeared behind her, looking like he hadn't slept. Rebecca, maybe we should. No, it's okay. She wiped her eyes. Come in, Zoe, please. Their house was beautiful, family photos everywhere. Emma and Sophie at various ages, vacations, holidays, a life I'd never been part of. We sat in their living room and Rebecca just stared at me for a minute. I'm not angry at you, she finally said. I need you to know that. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just trying to help. I'm sorry for how complicated this is, I said. It's not your fault. She looked at Marcus. It's not his fault either. It's just life. Messy, impossible life. Marcus reached for her hand. We need to tell the girls. Today. Before the medical team contacts them about a potential donor. I know. Rebecca turned back to me. Emma is going to have so many questions. Sophie too. About you, about Sarah, about why they never knew. I don't have good answers. Neither do I admitted. My mom thought she was doing the right thing. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. But she made her choice, and now we all have to live with it. Tell me about her, Rebecca said suddenly. About Sarah. What was she like as a mother? I hadn't expected that question. She was great. Kind. Funny. She worked 2 jobs to put me through college, taught me to be independent. She never spoke badly about Marcus, just said he didn't know about me and that was her decision. Did she ever regret it? I don't know. She never said. But I think maybe she did, toward the end. That's why she left me his name? So I could choose whether to find him. Rebecca nodded slowly. I can't decide if I'm angry at her or grateful to her. She kept a secret that wasn't hers to keep, but she also raised a daughter kind enough to save a stranger's life. Emma's not a stranger, I said. She's my sister. That made Rebecca cry again. We talked for another hour, about logistics, about the donation process, about how to tell Emma and Sophie. Rebecca insisted I stay for when they came home, Sophie from a friend's house, Emma from a doctor's appointment. They should meet you at the same time we tell them, Rebecca said. As a family. A family. The word felt strange and right and terrifying all at once. Emma walked in first, looking exhausted. She stopped when she saw me. You, she said. From the coffee shop. Hi, Emma. What are you? She looked at her parents, confused. What's going on? Sophie came in behind her. Whose car is that in the driveway? Girls, Marcus said. His voice was shaking. Sit down. We need to talk to you about something important. I watched my half-sisters sit on the couch, looking scared. Emma reached for Sophie's hand. Is it bad news? Emma asked quietly. About my test results? No, Marcus said. Actually, it's good news. We found you a donor. A perfect match. Emma's face lit up. Really? Oh my God, really? Really. But there's something else you need to know. About me. About our family. He looked at me. This is Zoe Martinez. She's the donor. And she's my daughter. Your half-sister. Silence. Complete, shocked silence. Then Sophie said, What the hell? Language, Rebecca said automatically. Mom, Dad just said he has a secret daughter. I think language is the least of our problems right now. Emma was staring at me. You're my sister. Half-sister? I clarified. Your dad didn't know about me. My mom never told him she was pregnant. Why not? She thought she was protecting him, protecting everyone. She was wrong. Emma stood up, walked over to me, and just looked at me for a long moment. Then she hugged me. I hadn't expected that. I stood there awkwardly while my dying half-sister held onto me and cried. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for finding us, for being a match, for saving my life. I hugged her back. You're welcome. The next few weeks were chaotic. Medical appointments, consent forms, the actual donation procedure, which was less dramatic than I expected. They put me under anesthesia, extracted bone marrow from my hip, and I woke up sore, but okay. Emma got the transplant 2 days later. The hardest part wasn't the physical stuff, it was navigating this new family dynamic. Sophie was angry at first, at me, at her dad, at the situation. "You just show up and suddenly you're part of this family," she'd said. "That's not how it works." But Emma defended me. "She's saving my life, Sophie. That's exactly how family works." Slowly, Sophie came around. We started texting. She asked questions about my mom, about my life, about what it was like growing up without a dad. I told her the truth. It was lonely sometimes, but my mom made it work. Marcus and I started having coffee once a week. Awkward at first, like strangers trying to become family. He asked about my childhood, my job, my life, apologized constantly for not being there, even though it wasn't his fault. "I missed everything," he said once. "Your first words, your first day of school, teaching you to ride a bike, all the things parents get to do." "You have 2 other daughters who got all that," I reminded him. "I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm just here. I want to be your father now, if you'll let me." I thought about it. I don't need a dad anymore. I'm 28. But I wouldn't mind having you in my life. As Marcus, as Emma's father, as someone who cares. He smiled. "I can work with that." Emma's transplant took. Her body accepted the bone marrow, started producing healthy blood cells. 2 months later, her doctors said she was in remission. The color came back to her face, her energy returned. She went back to school. We celebrated at their house, my father's house, with cake and champagne and biscuits stealing food off people's plates. Emma made a toast to Zoe, who showed up when we needed her most, to family, even when it's complicated, to second chances. I looked around that room at these people who were now, somehow, mine. Marcus, who'd turned out to be a good man caught in an impossible situation. Rebecca, who'd chosen grace over anger. Sophie, who'd forgiven me for existing. And Emma, alive because of a genetic lottery and a mother's secret. "I'm glad I found you," I said. "All of you." "We're glad you found us too," Marcus said, "even if the circumstances were insane." Later that night, as I was leaving, Emma walked me to my car. "I know this has been weird for you," she said, "being thrown into our family drama, having to save someone you barely know." "You're not someone I barely know. You're my sister." She smiled. "Yeah, I am. And I'm alive because of you. I'm going to graduate college because of you. I'm going to become a vet and have a career and maybe kids someday, all because you decided to take a genetic test and show up even though it was terrifying. You'd have done the same for me. I hope so, but I'm grateful I didn't have to. That you were the brave one." I hugged her goodbye and drove home to Boston thinking about choices. My mother's choice to keep me a secret. My choice to find Marcus. My choice to save Emma. All these choices that led us here, to this strange, complicated, beautiful family we'd built from secrets and sacrifice. A few months later, I moved to Philadelphia. Got a job at a research hospital near Marcus's. Started having weekly dinners with him and Rebecca. Became a real part of Emma and Sophie's lives. Not replacing anything, just adding to it. Sometimes people ask how I'm related to the Brennans. I used to stumble over the answer. Now I just say, it's complicated, but they're family. Because that's the truth. Family isn't just about blood or time or shared history. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other. Even when the circumstances are messy, it's about love that makes room for complications. My mom was wrong about one thing. Marcus could have handled knowing about me. He would have chosen us both. But she was right about the important part. She taught me to be the kind of person who'd save a stranger's life, even if that stranger turned out to be family all along. Have you ever made a decision that changed someone's life without meaning to? Or had to choose between the truth and protecting someone you love? Family isn't always simple, and sometimes the hardest part is figuring out where we fit. Share your story below, because every family starts somewhere, and sometimes that somewhere is messy and unexpected and exactly what we needed.